I'm obsessed with Samson. He's literally a sweetheart. I love him so much. Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be filming my October reading wrap up. This month I was in a bit of a reading slump, so I only read 7 books because for the majority of the start of the month I was in a reading slump, and I'm going to tell you guys about the book that got me out of this reading slump, or the 2 books that got me out of this reading slump. And yeah, so I didn't read a ton, so I don't have a ton of books to talk to you about today, but I have a lot to say about a couple of books in particular. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get into this video. Okay, so the first couple of books that I'm going to be talking about are some books that I read on my Kindle. So the first book that I read was To Love Jasonthorne by Ella Mays. This book I absolutely loved. I gave it 5 stars and it was literally phenomenal. I read To Hey Adam Connor, which is the second book in this like little mini series, a couple months ago, and I loved that one, but this one was just so much better. I don't know why, but I love this one so much more. So this is about Jason and Olive, and basically it's a brother's best friend romance, also a fake dating / marriage of convenience. And so when they were younger, she was really close with him, and obviously he was at her house all the time because it was her brother's best friend, and she was like basically in love with him when she was younger, and she was like, this is the man I'm gonna marry, we're gonna be together forever, oh my goodness, like it's gonna be great. But then something happens and he moves away and they haven't seen each other in years, and he's this big hotshot actor and she is an aspiring author, and she's just published her first book and it's being made into a movie. And guess who is going to be playing the lead in this movie? None other than Jason Thorne. She is shook when she sees him because this book that she's written is actually based off of parts of her relationship, or like her friendship with Jason, and what could have happened if they ended up together and he didn't move away. And so the fact that he's playing the lead in this movie is crazy. And so anyway, Jason has this really bad reputation. He is this like playboy, he sleeps around, and he doesn't really have the best reputation in the media, and so he almost loses this role in the movie, and he needs something to, you know, get his reputation back on track. And so his like manager or whatever thinks that he should get fake married to some girl, and he doesn't want to just marry some random like celebrity, and so he's like, why don't I marry Olive? He asks Olive to marry him and be his like fake wife, move in with him and everything like that. And Olive is hesitant at first because she doesn't really want to be with him if it's not real, and because obviously she still does have those underlying feelings there for him. And yeah, anyway, they end up getting fake married, things happen, they've always had this connection. And now that they're older, things can happen between them, and eventually they do. And yeah, this book was just so good and so surprisingly steamy. I wasn't expecting it to be so steamy, but it is, and it's so phenomenal. 5 stars. I absolutely love this one. And the next book I read is Room Hate by Penelope Douglas. This is the book that got me out of a reading slump. It's so quick, easy, fast paced. It was so good. I gave this one 4.5 stars. There was just something about it that wasn't quite a 5 stars for me, but I really loved it. And it was just so good, and it literally got me out of my reading slump. So this book follows Justin and Amelia, and they were childhood best friends. And then something happens, it causes them to have a falling out, and they haven't spoken in about 9 years, I believe. And you do get a few flashbacks to the past to like see what happened and see their dynamic. They were friends growing up. And anyway, Amelia's grandma passes away, and Justin was super close with Amelia's grandma, and he used to hang out around them all the time. And so she ends up leaving her beach house that they used to spend time in when they were kids to both Justin and Amelia, and obviously they haven't spoken in years, so they don't really know what they're going to do about it. Anyway, Amelia ends up going to this house. She doesn't know if Justin's going to show up. She's there for a couple of days, and then she leaves to go to the shop, and when she comes back she sees a car in the driveway. She's really confused. She's like, is that Jason? I don't know. She walks in, not Jason, Justin. She walks in, Justin is in the house, but he's not alone. He has brought his girlfriend along with him. He is so mad at Amelia for everything that happened. He doesn't want to talk to her. He literally hates her. And anyway, Amelia becomes friends with the girlfriend. There's a whole kind of awkward dynamic there. But there's all this like tension between Justin and Amelia. They're obviously still very attracted to each other, still have those like underlying feelings there. And yeah, nothing ends up happening while Justin is with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend's like so nice and you like want to hate her because obviously you don't want them to be together, but she's a really nice person. There are so many tropes in this book. Oh my god, like everything you can think of is literally in this book, but this book is told in 2 parts, and so you fast forward some time later, things happen, and it's just a crazy roller coaster ride, but it's so good, so fast paced, and just really, really good and perfect if you are in a reading slump. And the next book that I read is Bad Intentions by Charlene Rose. This one was a reread for me. I needed it for a video and I couldn't really remember what happened, so I decided to reread it. Gave it 4 stars, the rating that I gave it the first time. This is the second book in the Bad Love series, but they're all interconnected standalones, and this one is so good. So this follows Dare and Lo, and Dare is this very closed off character. He hates everyone in the world but Lo, and he literally hates people. He says it so often throughout the book. Lo ends up moving to the town where Dare lives. It's a small town, and she moves there with her brother because like her family life is not the best back home, so she moves in with her dad, who she hasn't really seen or spoken to in years. But her and her brother move in there temporarily, and she's like gonna look for a job so they can like rent their own house and whatever. And so she walks into Dare's tattoo parlor that he owns called Bad Intentions, and she's like, hey, like, do you have a job? Like, I can work the desk, help with like admin stuff. And he basically tells her, no, absolutely not, like get out, like go away, I don't have anything for you. And Lo's kind of super like annoyed, and anyway she ends up getting a job next door, so they're like in close proximity all the time, and they see each other all the time, and obviously there's a connection and attraction, and obviously eventually things do happen. He helps her out with a few of like these things. There's this whole Halloween party that's just like such a good scene. I'm obsessed with that part. And yeah, it's so good. And if you love the I Had Everyone in the World But You trope, yeah, it's a really, really good book, and the whole series is phenomenal. The next book I read was Maybe Someday, which is another reread for me by Colleen Hoover. This is my favorite Colleen Hoover book. I've spoken about it so many times on my channel, and I just wanted to reread it because I wanted to annotate it, because the first time I read this I didn't annotate it, so I wanted to read it again. And I love this book. The soundtrack that goes along with this book is stunning, and obviously it's a 5 stars for me. And yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about this book because I've talked about it so many times on my channel, but it's about Ridge and Sydney. Ridge is a musician, he's also deaf, and Sydney helps him write music when she moves in with him because her boyfriend is cheating on her with her roommate slash best friend. And yeah, Ridge has a girlfriend, so it creates a little complication there, but Ridge and Sydney have this amazing connection. And yeah, this is one of the lighter Colleen Hoover books. It's not super heavy. It does deal with some emotional topics still, and you probably will cry, but it's nothing compared to like It Ends With Us or like Ugly Love or Your Perfects, like those like super emotional reads, whereas this one's on the lighter side. The next book I read is actually another Colleen Hoover book, and this is Heartbones. I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. It is phenomenal. Also, this cover is literally stunning. I'm obsessed. But this book is just so good, and if you haven't read it, read it right now. It's one of Colleen Hoover's more underrated books, but it's so good. It's like set in like the summertime, small town, literally phenomenal. I'm obsessed. This one follows Samson and Bayer, and I'm obsessed with Samson. He's literally a sweetheart. I love him so much. And so Bayer comes from this, she had a really rough upbringing. Her mum was a drug addict, and she is like poor, she doesn't have anything. And Samson was raised in this really rich lifestyle. They meet and they think they have nothing in common, because, you know, how can 2 people who come from completely different backgrounds have anything in common? But, you know, they obviously find common ground and things like that. But yeah, Bayer's mum ends up passing away, and she calls her dad and asks if she can come stay with him for the time being until she goes to college. And he lives in this summer house in Texas, and so she ends up moving in with him. He has a new wife and a daughter, so she has a stepsister, and she's actually really nice. They become really good friends, and she's dating this guy who's friends with Samson. And so the 4 of them are always kind of hanging out together. Samson and Bayer decide that they're nothing's really gonna happen between them. They are too different, and they don't even want to be together. But obviously the more time they spend together, the connection forms, and they decide that they're gonna have like a summer fling type of thing. But you know, that's definitely not gonna just be a summer fling and they end up falling for each other. This book is so good. There is a crazy plot twist in here. If you know Colleen Hoover, you know there's always a crazy plot twist and it's crazy emotional, and I was literally crying by the end of it, but it was so good. And honestly, I didn't see the plot twist coming, and I feel like I definitely should have. Like, it's kind of, I wouldn't say super obvious, but it's like something that you probably should have seen. But like, I was just so obsessed with the characters in the book and just Samson and just everything that was happening that I didn't even see the plot twist coming, and I feel like I definitely should have. But this book was just so good, and if you haven't read this one, you need to, because it's literally phenomenal. Like, go read it right now. It's probably one of my new favorite Colleen Hoover books. I literally love this one so much. The next book I read is the first book in the Dirty Air series, Throttled by Lauren Asher. I just finished this one yesterday and oh my goodness, it was so good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was a little slow in the beginning and I wasn't really loving it that much, but once I got maybe like 100 pages in, it started to pick up and it was so good. And also, I'm obsessed with this cover. It's literally stunning. Oh my god. This book follows Noah and Maya, and Noah is this super famous F1 racer, but Maya's brother is also an F1 racer, and her brother and Noah are rivals, but then he ends up getting put on Noah's team, and so they're racing together, they're teammates, but they're still super competitive. And so this is a brother's rival romance. She meets Noah, she has this instant attraction to him, they are super like attracted to each other, but nothing can happen because of, you know, the rivalry between her brother and Noah, and like, you know, that whole dynamic. Noah doesn't want to really not pursue her, and so he's persistent and he's like, just let me take you out on a date, blah blah blah. But he's a playboy, he sleeps around so much, and Maya wants something more serious, but Noah's like, I can't really give you that. I can give you like a friends with benefits type of thing, but I can't really give you anything more. Eventually you kind of, you know, that's gonna change. His opinion on relationships is gonna change, and eventually things happen between them, and it's so good. I loved this one and I can't wait to read the rest of the series. I'm super excited for the third book because Jax is who the third book's about, and Jax is mentioned throughout this book and he just seems like such a fun character, and I'm super excited to read that one. And also the second book Collided, I actually have it coming in the mail today. I'm so excited. And that book has like a bucket list that Liam, the character that book's about, helps the girl complete, and like, I love that trope, so I'm super excited to read that one too. Yeah, this one was so good. I gave it 4 stars, like I said. And yeah, last book that I read was The Legacy by Elle Kennedy, the 5th book in the Off-Campus series. This is like kind of an epilogue type novel, like where they are now. You see the characters in the Off-Campus series 4 years later, I think, and what they're up to now. So it's told from all the characters' point of views. You get 4 mini novellas. There's an elopement, a wedding, a surprise pregnancy, and a proposal. And you didn't know what characters were doing what going into it. I have mixed feelings on this. I was so hyped and excited to read this one when it got announced, but I didn't love it. I thought it was a little unnecessary and I could have done without it. It didn't like wrap up the series like I was hoping to, and it was just kind of like, I don't know, like meh. Like, it was fun to see my comfort characters over again. The friendship dynamic between the boys is like my favorite thing ever. They're so hilarious and this book is so funny, and like I loved that aspect of it. And I loved it as it's like kind of like own like mini novella like bonus things, but like as like a story to wrap up everything, I didn't really love it. I gave it 4 stars, and I'm gonna talk spoilers for a little bit to tell you why I didn't give this 5 stars like I gave the rest of the series. So if you haven't read this book, skip to the timestamp on the screen to fast forward the spoilers, but if you have and you want to hear my full opinions on this, I'm going to talk spoilers for a second. The first story is Logan and Grace. Logan and Grace are my favorite couple. I love Logan with my whole heart, and I was so excited to read their story, and I loved their story so much. It was so unproblematic. There was like hardly any conflict between them, but there was so much conflict between every other character in this book. Like, all the couples were fighting. I'm like, why are they fighting? I just wanted this to be like a happy, fun story with just like fluff and like nothing, no conflict or anything, because we didn't need that. We had enough of that in the original books. So yeah, Logan and Grace at the elopement, and I was really disappointed. with the fact that you didn't get any details of their elopement. It literally like ends with they go to this place and they meet like this guy and he ends up being a pastor, and then he's like, Logan goes, do you do weddings? And then that's it. But you don't get any details. Like I wish you would have got at least like the details of their elopement, and I was really disappointed that you didn't. And then the proposal was Ali and Dean. I didn't love their story because Ali was literally so adamant on didn't want to get married yet because she didn't want to get engaged, because engaged leads to married and married leads to kids, and it's like she's seeing it as all one step when in reality it's 3 separate steps and you don't have to do it all in the one time span. And Dean is planning this stunning proposal, and then Ali literally says no. Like, well, she doesn't even let him propose because she's like, no, like I can't do that, like I don't want to get married yet, blah 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 blah. And it's just really frustrating. And then in the end, Ali ends up proposing to Dean, which is like really out of character for Dean. Like I don't have a problem with like the girls proposing, like you do you, like that's like whatever, but it's not really, it's really out of character for their relationship. And like I don't know, I didn't love it. And then the wedding, it wasn't a wedding. it was a honeymoon. That's Sabrina and Tuck, and I was really happy that they were getting married, but you didn't get any details of their wedding. You got the reception in Dean and Ali's story, but all you got in Sabrina and Tucker's was their honeymoon, and everything that you can think of that could go wrong went wrong, and they were fighting and everything was a mess, and I'm like, can they not just be happy? And they did like a ceremony where it was just Tuck, Sabrina, and then Tucker's mum, and it was just like a small little thing, and then everyone was there for the reception, which I mean, I loved that, but I wish you would have got at least a couple chapters of the details of their wedding and, you know, them saying their vows to each other. And I wish we would have got that, because it's like advertised as a wedding, but realistically you're not getting any of the wedding, you're just getting the proposal. It kind of like sucked. I was like, why aren't we getting any details of their wedding? I want details of their wedding. And then the surprise pregnancy was Hannah and Garrett, obviously, and their story I really loved. I loved that they were having a baby. I was really annoyed that Hannah didn't want to tell Garrett. She kept putting it off. She kept like procrastinating it and stalling, telling him, and then she ended up telling him over the phone because there was an emergency. And I didn't really love that she told him over the phone, and obviously in the situation there was nothing that could be done about it. Like she had to tell him then and there, but I feel like she could have just told him earlier and it would have just been better. And a lot of their story focused on Garrett and his dad. I hate Garrett's dad. If you've read the deal, you know, but I just didn't like how a lot of it was focused on him, because it was like, I don't care for him at all. Like I don't want any details of him. Can't it just be Garrett and Hannah's relationship and everything like that? And I wish we would have got some details of like, you know, the pregnancy, like seeing the kids being born, or like what their names were gonna be, things like that. It was all left very up in the air, which I didn't really love. But overall, I did enjoy the book. Like I said, I gave it 4 stars, but I just wish we would have got more details of certain things. And it's really frustrating that we didn't, and I really wish we got details of the wedding. Like that's what I wish the most, because like it says there's a wedding, and yeah, there was a wedding, but you didn't even see the wedding happen. You just saw the honeymoon, and the honeymoon was a mess. But yeah, that's my full thoughts and feelings on The Legacy. Like I said, I enjoyed it for what it was, but it just like, it wasn't the wrap up that I hoped it would be. Like you didn't get a final wrap up on the whole story of like all the characters together, everyone being happy. Like it was more just individual little bonus scenes for each couple, which I feel like didn't need to be a big book. They are all the books that I read in the month of October. Like I said, not a very good reading month for me. I usually read like 11 to 15 books a month, but I only read 7 this month because it was in a reading slump. So hopefully next month is better and I'll read so many more books. I have so many books and I'm so excited to read next month. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.